What's going on, everyone? Happy Monday. Welcome back to another episode of AKP Sports Talk. As always, I'm Ari here with Korea. How was your weekend, Korea?
Oh, it was nice. It was fun to see some good baseball. Finally the return of Sunday baseball. Uh, you know, Felt good to get some good baseball back in, and also a good end to the regular season for the NBA. But yeah, it was a pretty nice weekend. How was yours?
Yeah, it was good. Definitely a lot of fun sports on, and that will continue throughout the rest of this month, and it should be a good month. So we'll start off, as you all know, we are all Mariners fans here, so we'll start off with the opening series. And my computer's having issues, but Um, so we'll start off with, I guess we can go, I guess, game by game. Start off with the first game on that was supposed to happen on Thursday, but got moved to Friday because of postponed. Mariners win 2-1 in Friday's opener, continuing off where they left off with all the one-run victories from last season. A great start for Robbie Ray, 7 innings, 1 run, 3 hits. Mitch Haniger had a 2-run home run in the first, and that was all the offense for the Mariners. Fortunately, that was all they needed with Ray going 7 and then Seawald and second runner going the 8th and ninth. The Twins rookie last year is making his first start this year. Joe Ryan went 4 innings. I think it was Urshela, I believe it was. I hit the home run off of Robbie Ray for the lone Twins run. Korea, what was your kind of takeaways overall from the opening game?
Yeah, obviously it was good to see the opening day lineup, finally come to full form. We've just seen them during spring training, but trying to get that opening day lineup going. Um, well, obviously another big concern is just leaving. How many runners we left in scoring position? We were 0 for 12 of runners in scoring position on Friday, and it's a concern. But at the same time, I know it's the beginning of the season. There's still plenty of games to be played. That's something we're just going to have to work out offensively. Obviously, with the shortened spring training, these guys have not really had a full 4 weeks yet. And this is kind of, that fourth week. They're still getting, back into rhythm. And I think by the end of April, we'll finally see these guys really playing at their full potential. But, they call us the fun differential team for a reason. I mean, all these 1-1 games, and when you have a 2-run homer by Mitch Haniger in the first inning, and Robbie Ray on the mound, that's all you need. I mean, Robbie Ray, he really impressed me. We all knew he was AL Cy Young, reigning AL Cy Young, looks dominant. And he continued his dominance. He had a great outing. He went 7 innings. That's all we can ask for from Robbie Ray. 7 innings strong, 1 hit, no, 3 hits, 1 run. Just getting his strikeout rate was pretty high like usual. And then the one homer to Urshela, that was bound to happen with the stacked Twins lineup as it is, with power hitters like Sano, Buxton, Sanchez, and Urshela and more. They were down to get a run, bound to get a run. So, but great game Friday. Great outing by Robbie Ray. That's all I really much all I have to say.
Yeah, one concern was the 4 walks from Ray, but that was pretty much the only concern. And for him, it didn't even seem like he had really his best stuff overall. And so for him to not be at his so-called best and still, have that kind of performance definitely says a lot. I definitely think that, Ray didn't get the respect that most Cy Young winners, get, and no one to really. I mean, I guess partially that could have been because it was before the lockout, and so the lockout kind of slowed things down. But I didn't really hear much buzz just in general in the media, baseball community, whatever you want to call it. So definitely good to see him get off to a good start. So then we'll go on to game two. Quite the up and down game. The Mariners win 4-3. Logan Gilbert gets a start. It looked like he's gonna only go maybe a few innings early. He threw 52 pitches through 2 innings and was really struggling, but managed to get out of it, only allowing 1 run. And then from there, he really locked in. He retired the last 10 batters that he faced from the last out of the second through the third, fourth, fifth inning. Finished on 5 innings, 1 run, 3 hits, 7 strikeouts, 1 walk. So the 7 strikeouts definitely stands out, in the 5 innings. But when you get kind of comfortable because his biggest issue in the past was finding that second pitch other than the fastball, and he was really struggling to find that pitch in the first couple innings. But then he kind of locked in, as I said, in the next few innings, and really looked dominant. So the Twins got to the early lead 1-0. Mariners tied at 1-1. We saw Tom Murphy hit a home run, and then we saw the Mariners were up. What was it? I think 2-1. Yeah, 2-1. When Andres Munoz was on the mound in the 8th inning, and he was having a little bit of command issues. And then you mentioned earlier Byron Buxton. He does 101 at the Leathers, and Buxton, the bat speed on that home run was insane. And he just turned on it, and right when the ball left the bat, you knew that was going way out. And so that gave the Twins a 3-2 lead, bottom of the 8th. It was good to see Munoz bounce back with the 3 straight outs after that home run. And then Twins bring in Tyler Duffy for the save opportunity at the top of the 9th. The guy who leads off the comeback, Julio Rodriguez, first career hit is a double. And then I want to say Julio, and then Tom Murphy walked, I think, or what was it? Early single. Julio doubled.
He just flied out. He got out. No, he struck out.
Yeah, Julio doubled. JP ended out and moved into third. So they had the tying runner on third with 1 out. Tom Murphy strikes out, and then the top of the lineup, the professional hitters, as I like to call them, and Adam Frazier and Ty France both come clutch. Frazier 2-out double to tie it, and then France, the next batter, 2-out single. Give Mariners a 4-3 lead. And we see another, as I was kind of saying before the season, the Mariners have a number of different guys that they'll kind of give save opportunities to. The second rider on Friday, and then Diego Castillo had an easy 1-2-3-9 to close it out in the on Saturday in Game 2 to clinch, or not clinch series because it's 4 games, but to win the first 2, help the Mariners win the first 2 games. Career, what was your takeaways from that game?
Yeah, I forgot on Friday you mentioned Steckenrider, and we were all watching that. The Gary Sanchez almost homer, almost gave me a heart attack in the bottom of the 9th. Like, great fielding by Jesse Winker, right on the warning track to grab that, crushing Twins fans' hopes and giving us another opening day win. Saturday, that was pretty much a ride of emotions as well. I mean, it looked like Gilbert was just going to struggle. He was already at 26 pitches at the end of the first inning. It just looked like he just wasn't, finding his location well. And then he just muscled out of it. Obviously, that leadoff run in the first inning, I forgot who it was. He was just letting people, he was just struggling on the mound. And then he went through 4 solid innings, up 3 up, 3 down, I believe, for most of those. Finding his command again. So that was great to see Logan Gilbert finally, break out of that trouble that he got through the first inning. And then, the Byron Buxton home run, that looked like a moonshot as soon as I saw it. And one of the things that Munoz, one of the things that sorry, I can't talk right now. One of the things that he was struggling with, you mentioned it, was his command. He was just throwing 101, but he just could not find the strike zone. He was just throwing pretty much everywhere around it. And then once he finally, was getting that strike zone down, Byron Buxton launches it 400 plus to left field. So he was struggling, but then great on him to, finally get that command right as we head into the 9th. That was a fun top of the 9th. To see Julio get his first hit, and just that comeback feel like it was back in 2021. Adam Frazier, we're down to our final out. We're already down by 2. We have the game tying run a third. All we need is some hit in the outfield, and I think the count was like 3-2 or something. And Adam Frazier just belts it into left center, and I'm like, oh my goodness, here we go. The comeback kids do it again, and I'm like, okay, we at least tied it. Now we got Ty France, and I'm like, he's great with runners in scoring position, and he keeps delivering. So you mentioned the top of the lineup being professional. I just think these guys are, some of the better, some of the key reasons either at the top of the lineup versus the bottom. Great comeback win for the Mariners. Another 1-run win, but hey, wins matter. So at the end of the day, Byron Buxton's homer was nice, but did they win? No. So great game Saturday. It was great to see Logan Gilbert actually make it through 5 innings. I believe he got the win in that game too, so great to see him get his first win after a struggle throughout the first inning.
Well, no, he didn't get the win because they took the lead in the 9th.
Oh, it's right. Yeah, that's yeah.
Well, he was going to get the win until Buxton gave the Twins the lead in the 8th, and so then that put him out of the line. Yeah, I mean, it was great to see Julio get that first hit. Yeah, I think he had been 0 for 6, 0 for 7 up to that double in the 9th, and he had been seeing the ball well, some good at bats, but a couple of really unlucky strike 3 calls on him by the play umpires, and then a couple of foul balls he had just missed. So it's good to see him get that first hit out of the way. And then so now we'll go on to Sunday's afternoon game, and in the first inning, Jesse Winker walked, Haniger doubled, and it looked like the Mariners were going to take a 1-0 lead. But the Twins had a really nice relay that where they threw Winker out at home on the play, and that was the beginning of the of the turn for the Mariners. Marco Gonzalez.
Look, we don't have to talk about it. Look, it was the home run derby, right? It was the home run derby. That's pretty much all it was.
I mean, it wasn't. I mean, Marco got hit hard. Buxton leads off the first inning with another home run, his second straight at bat, getting back to the 2-run home run Saturday night, and then the Twins have 2 on, 2 outs. Marco's looking to get out of it, and then Adam Frazier error blows the bases, and then Mr. Gary Sanchez launches a grand slam 446 feet. So all 4 of those runs were unearned because of the Adam Frazier error. So, I mean, while Marco did get hit hard, it wasn't, all his fault. But then Buxton leads off the second inning with another home run. And so Marco only goes 2 innings, 6 runs, 2 earned, 6 hits. And so then we kind of see the bottom of the Mariners bullpen kind of come in after Matt Festa, who's basically the last guy to make the team. Went 2 innings, gave a solo home run in each of his 2 innings. The Mariners made a comeback. They didn't just go away easy. In the 3rd inning, they scored 4 runs, capped off by Mitch Haniger's second home run of the season. So that makes it 6-4. And so, it's good to see them fight and not just kind of go away. Winning the first 2, they could kind of easily just kind of focus on the next game already after already winning the first 2, trying to get the series win. But they, battled back in that 3rd inning, and then that was all the offense that they got in that 4-run 3rd inning. Yeah, correct.
Look, I love Marco so much, and it hurts me to say this, but this dude needs to be moved down to 4th in the rotation. He looked awful. He could not find his location. His sliders were ending up in the middle of the plate. That's why we had that Gary Sanchez bomb. It was just middle of the plate slider. Of course, he's going to belt that to left field. So his location was off. I don't think Marco's ready right now. Like I love him because he's a great pitcher, but he's just not ready. He did not look prepared to start a regular season game. His location was all over the place. He had trouble finding the strike zone. And when he did, it was right in the middle of the plate for Byron Buxton and Gary Sanchez to go deep to left 4. So it was just a bad start for Marco. I know he'll bounce back, but it was just a horrible start. That's one that we want to erase from the memory for him. And then Festa, obviously, his location was no better, giving up home runs. I think it was to Kepler, and there was one more. And then to top it off, Carlos Correa, the menace for the Mariners, hits a 458 homer to left field as well. So like I said, it was the home run derby for the Twins. They put up 10 runs. Look, it's one of those games where you just want to scratch it and move on. We've scratched it. We have one game tonight that starts in about 40 minutes. We got Chris Flex on the mound. I'm excited for this lineup today. We're giving Kalanick the day off, who's been very struggling. It just does not look good up there right now, and he knows he's struggling too. So kind of give him a good day off. But we can get the series win right here, at the least tie, and I'll take that as well. Tie the first series of this season. I'll take that against a very underrated Twins offense, which has Byron Buxton, who was a dark horse, now looking like a very MVP favorite, who went 3 for 3 in 3 at-bats with 3 homers against the Mariners consecutively. So it's we know there's this one game is definitely gonna ruin the run differential for us, but I'm glad that we actually have made a comeback. It was only we were down to 6-4. It was 6-4 after that 4-1 inning, but obviously bullpen couldn't really get their act together. So this is a game we scratch off. We say we'll forget. We move on. So that's all I got to say about that.
Yeah, I mean, you look back to last season, and Marco really struggled the entire first half of the season. He turned it around the second half of the year, but hopefully he doesn't have that same first half. I think, with guys like George Kirby, Levi Stout kind of lurking in the minors, I don't know if Marco's going to have as long as a leash as he had last year, this year as he had last year. So that would be interesting to see if Marco struggles continue the next 2-3 starts maybe. But, again, it's only one start, so hopefully he bounces back. The thing with, someone like Marco who doesn't have the fastest speed is he relies so much on, I guess like framing his pitches, getting him on the corners. So when he doesn't get him on the corners, they're going to be hit far, as we saw, on Sunday. So yeah, as you said, Mariners looking to bounce back and get the series win. Take 3 or 4 this afternoon against Minnesota, about 40 minutes as of now as we're recording this. Chris Flexen against Dylan Bundy. Hopefully Mariners can get to Bundy. He's really struggled last year, so hopefully that can continue into this year. So now we will that was the Mariners. Now we'll kind of touch on the rest of the MLB real quick. The one series I wanted to talk about first was the Cubs taking 2 or 3 from the Brewers. I mean, we talked about, I think it was last week, we talked about how the Brewers, their pitching was really, really good last year, but it was their lineup that kind of, held them back a bit. And that we're seeing that again to start off this season. I mean, you look at their lineup on paper, you have Colton Wong, Willie Adames, Christian Yelich, McCutchen, Hunter Renfroe, Omar Narvaez, Lorenzo Cain. Like on paper, it doesn't seem like that bad of a lineup, but they're just not producing. So not only they lost 2 or 3 to the Cubs, but then they got shut out by Baltimore this afternoon. And so now that's it's only 4 games, so I'm sure they'll be fine in the long term. But if they want to be a legit World Series contender, their offense is going to have to step up. And it's only 4 games, but you look at last year, it was the same deal last year. So it's not just 4 games; it was last year too. Corey, did you have any takeaways from? I don't know how much you watched of the series. I didn't watch too much of it, but just from what I saw.
Yeah, I saw opening day, and I was getting excited. Obviously, that was the first game, and I kind of saw it, but I was obviously not really thinking about it. But the Brewers' offense is absolutely atrocious. It is anemic. It does not exist right now, and that's the reason that they've lost. They lost 2 out of 3 to the Cubs, because you look at their pitching, right? You have Burns, you have Peralta, you have Woodruff, but if you don't have an offense to back up your pitching, the pitching can only do so much, and that proved to be evident. I mean, Woodruff got lit up on, I think that was Saturday. He got lit up by the Cubs. And what was the final score of that game, Ari? I believe it was 9-0. Yes, it was. It was 9-0. That means you didn't put up a single run, not one. That just shows you how atrocious this Brewers offense is. And it's proving to be evident. And I knew it was one of the biggest concerns with this Milwaukee team. I thought obviously this may be just a slow start for this team. It's only 3 games to the season, but they got to turn it around, because they're looking a little overhyped right now in this division, where you have St. Louis, who looks like pretty much the winner of the NL Central right now. Cincinnati, who surprisingly took 2 back down in Atlanta, the defending champs. And you have Pittsburgh, who obviously is rebuilding, and then you have Chicago, who just beat you. So I mean, for the Brewers, they obviously need to figure out what their offense is looking like. A series that I want to take a look at was the Rangers and Blue Jays, and this one's intriguing to me. And the only reason why it's intriguing to me is because how potent the Blue Jays offense is. I knew it was going to be scary. I did not know it was going to be this scary. The Blue Jays have the best offense in baseball. That is a fact. They were down 7-0 to the Rangers, and they won 10-8. Like, I have never seen a team so easily come back from 7-0 like the Blue Jays did. And they put up runs. Like, in their loss yesterday, they put up 6 runs. Like yes, Texas put up 12, but still, they put up 6. Like, they're averaging at least like 5 runs a game. Like, this is incredible for them. So if any team who has to face Toronto, like, you just realize, like, your pitcher's probably going to be your favorite pitcher's probably going to be in danger, because Toronto has bats and they are swinging out early. And also, one thing I want to touch up on is just how the NL West is looking right now. Like, obviously, the Dodgers, kind of interesting. They did lose the series to Colorado, but, obviously, beginning of the season. But you look at a team like San Diego, and San Diego, obviously, they're playing Arizona. I mean, it's Arizona. But, I mean, still, like, after that Seth Beer, National Beer Day, whatever, it looked like San Diego could potentially, be a contender in this division. And yes, even though with the late, I mean, we saw what was it, Darvish no hit, and then Manaya the next night. So it looks like we really took a blind eye to this Padres team. Yes, we both probably had him third. I know I had him third in my division, but I think that was before the Manaya, or that was before. That was after Manaya went, but I didn't really think, that this Padres, rotation was really going to do stuff. But I want to just, quick shout out to the Padres rotation. Darvish and Manaya had their great nights, but obviously they got to play the Giants now in the 3-game series, and that's not going to be easy. So now the Padres get a real test. I think after this opening weekend, we can't really react too hardly because it's only been 3 games, but you mentioned it. One of the biggest surprises is the Brewers and how disappointing their offense was, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, shout out to the Padres, but I'm going to need to see a little bit more against more competition before I completely buy into them as, like, legit World Series contender and all that. But, but yeah, Seiya Suzuki had a pretty solid opening series in his debut. He had a hit in each of the 3 games against the Brewers, and he had his first career home run off Freddie Peralta in that Sunday game, a 3-run home run. He had 6 RBIs in total, so a solid start for him. We're talking about all these rookies in the AL. We're talking about Julio Rodriguez, Spencer Torkelson, Bobby Witt, but the Cleveland Guardians, their rookie outfielder, Stephen Kwan, went 8 for 10 in the opening series, so shout out to him. Again,
Also,
only 3 games.
Another one I want to talk about is Jeremy Pena out of the Astros. He went 6 for 12 in his first series against the Angels, and his first career homer. So that's another rookie. This rookie class, I think maybe I've seen it a lot on Twitter today, but this may be one of the best rookie classes so far that we've ever seen. And the race for AL and NL Rookie of the Year is going to be very, very good as we get, especially in the AL. I mean, look, we've already named 4 guys in the AL that just can probably get it this year with Julio, with Torkelson, with Bobby Witt, and then Kwan, and then there's Pena. And then NL we have Seiya. Like, there's so the NL, the rookies are definitely making their spots known. And there's still one more, Matt Brash for the Mariners. I think he starts tomorrow against the White Sox. And I'm definitely excited to see him. He's definitely one of those rookies who no one really has, really mentioned, but just because value-wise, he's 5th in the Mariners rotation. He throws heat. We've seen him during spring training. He knows what he can do, and I'm excited to see him tomorrow. So that's probably one of the last rookies that's probably going to, make a big name in this first opening week for me.
Yeah, another rookie in NL is Hunter Green, the pitcher for the Reds. Had a really impressive start against the Braves. So yeah, and it was super cool to see with Pena's home run. His parents were being interviewed during that, so that was a super cool moment to see this past weekend. Let's see what else. One of the series I wanted to talk about was the Yankees taking 2-3 against the Red Sox. Both Stanton and Rizzo had 2 home runs. Verdugo was 5 for 11, 3 RBIs. Bogarts was 4 for 11 with the home run. So 3 pretty exciting games. I think all 3 of them are pretty tight for the most part. Were you able to catch any of those games, like the Sunday night game, Korea?
Yeah, definitely a very home run friendly game series to say the least. You mentioned the Yankees star power. It just showed that it's blossoming at the right time. I mean, you have Stanton homering, you have Aaron Judge getting a homer, Rizzo hitting the ball well in that series, LeMahieu hitting the ball pretty decently in that series. It just shows you the Yankees have a decent lineup. They can compete with some of the best teams in the AL East, and we already knew that. But I mean, this was pretty much one of the more intense weekends for baseball. Obviously, with Yankees and Red Sox, and that's one of the pretty much the best rivalry in baseball. Yeah, you mentioned the Yankees. It's at home. I would personally love to see it in Boston because I think if Boston was able to play the Yankees first in Boston, I think Boston maybe take 2 out of 3 there. But that's just how close the AL East is. One big loss for right now, not permanent but temporarily. Trevor Story with that illness. Obviously, he has not been in the lineup for the past 2 days for the Boston Red Sox, so they hope to get him back soon. But I mean, you can't really disrespect the Red Sox. I mean, what they tried to keep it close, especially last night's game. Bobby Dahlbeck getting that game-leading home run. The 6th inning? So, yeah, that was a very exciting series as well. I know Boston. This is not the record does not show how well they played the weekend. So it was a good series to watch for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think that will pretty much do it for us talking about the opening weekend. Again, only 3 or 4 games, so you can only take so much away from it, but it's still, just fun to have baseball back, and we want to talk about it. So we'll definitely keep an eye on to see some of these trends that, continue past just 3, 4 games into the next 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks. So now that'll do for the MLB talk for this episode. So now we'll get into playoff basketball starting on Tuesday. Do you know the schedule off the top of your head of what teams are?
Yeah. So both 7, 8 games are tomorrow, and then Wednesday are the 9, 10 games.
Okay, so yeah, so 7, 8, and let's just start. I guess we'll start in the East. Brooklyn hosting Cleveland in the 7, 8 in the East. Of course, Brooklyn has the star power with Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving. They could get Ben Simmons back. It sounds like if they make it into the first round. But Cleveland, despite the loss of Colin Sexton, they've been fighting all year. Been in a bit of a slump, as of late in general, and falling from I want to say at the All-Star break they were like the 2 or 3 seed in the East. So a bit of a slower second half of the season, but as we saw last year, the play-in, it's only 1 game, so the better team isn't going to win every single time. So I'll leave it to you. Who do you have winning this game?
You mentioned it. This is like a single game thing, and you see the Nets' troubles on defense. I mean, the Nets are pretty much one of the worst teams defensively in the NBA, and in a 1 game setting like this, I think this is like a must win for the Nets if they don't want to play, one of those electric 2 offenses in Atlanta or Charlotte who could beat Brooklyn. So I'm going with the Nets in this one. I think for the Nets this is a must win because they're definitely in danger if they lose. But it's not going to be easy for the Nets. Obviously, that young core in Cleveland is doing their thing. They're back in the playoffs without LeBron, so it just shows that young core is working out there in Cleveland. But I say the Nets are winning tomorrow. This is a must win. KD and Kyrie under pressure. We've seen what KD can do. We've seen what Kyrie can do. I think those two just are the difference makers. I mean, it's a home game. That's obviously a big thing for Brooklyn as well. The last time these two teams played in Brooklyn was literally right before the season ended, and Brooklyn did get the victory to pretty much clinch the reason that they have home field advantage. So I definitely am going with the Nets. I think this is a must win for them, and I think this is the reason that's a must win is because I think they're going to get the win. But it's going to be close. It's going to be very close.
Yeah, so the winner of this game plays number 2 seed Boston. I'm going with the Nets as well. I think again, it will be close. But I think in the close game, of this importance, I'm taking Kyrie and KD late over, Garland and all of them. I think the Cleveland sides can give the Nets a little bit of trouble. I think it was just today Jarrett Allen was ruled out. He's been out for a while, so it's not like they've been playing with him as of late, but they're was some hope that Allen could return for this game, but he is ruled out. But yeah, I still think Cleveland still has to give them a little bit of trouble. But yeah, I think Katie and Kyrie will combine for 70 to 80 points in this game, in that range, and they'll take care of business and head to Boston for round one. So I guess we'll stay with the 7-8, and we'll go to the Minnesota Timberwolves hosting LA Clippers. Last week, when we were just picking our initial kind of predictions, I said the Timberwolves. I'm changing it to the Clippers. I think with the healthy Paul George back, I think that'll be the difference. Timberwolves have a fun kind of core of Anthony Edwards, Towns, and D'Angelo Russell. I think this is definitely going to be a super fun and close game. But yeah, I'm going to Clippers. Are you sticking with the Clippers? I know you had them last week.
I'm definitely sticking with the Clippers. I think this Clippers team, I saw it on TikTok. Yes, it's not a trustworthy source, but I saw a video about it. These Clippers, this 8-seed Clippers team is one of the scariest 8 seeds since the We Believe Warriors back in the mid to late 2000s. And I agree with them. I mean, you see this team, they were not healthy all year pretty much. Didn't have Kawhi, didn't have Paul George. Now they get Paul George back. They're getting momentum at the right time. They're playing Minnesota in a winner moves to play Memphis. And I love Minnesota. Don't get me wrong. I love Minnesota. I love that core with Karl-Anthony Towns, the established big man, with D'Lo, the veteran, and Anthony Edwards, the second-year player. I love that core, and I love their depth with it as well, with guys like Pat Bev, that vocal leader who is just – and it's so ironic that, Pat Bev, playing the Clippers, his former team. So, you love to see them. That storyline is fun to see, but I don't think the Timberwolves will do it. I think the Clippers will win this game in a one-game scenario. Obviously, the young core in Minnesota, doesn't really have that experience. And Paul George, in those winner-go-home games kind of scenarios, we've seen him pull up. We've seen playoff P, the bubble playoff P, and we've seen what Paul George can really do. So I think the Clippers can really win this game tomorrow and move on to play Memphis in the first round, and that's not an easy matchup for Memphis.
Yeah, it's definitely it would be a good series. I mean, no matter who wins that game, I think even Minnesota could give Memphis a fun series. So I guess we'll stay in the West, and the 9-10 Pelicans hosting the Spurs. Spurs, for the most part, kind of coming out of nowhere, so to speak. Like a month ago, no one was talking about them, taking that last spot, but they did. So shout out to them. Shout out to DeJounte Murray, the hometown Seattle kid. And then the Pelicans making a move for CJ McCollum at the trade deadline. I saw Zion was on the bench in their last game, so he's not going to be ready for this game, but maybe if they do sneak in, maybe he could be playing in round one. But do you think that the Pelicans will get to that game for the 8 seed, or do you have the Spurs pulling it out?
I definitely see the Pelicans winning this one. I think the Spurs are only there because the Lakers decided to choke at the end of the season. And don't get me wrong, the Spurs have a great young core with guys like DeJounte Murray, Trey Jones. That young core developed by Greg Popovich in San Antonio. I like them, but New Orleans, obviously, they made the trade for McCollum for a reason. They want to start being a semi-contender in this. And this is finally the year that they've been trying to get to the playoffs. Now they're in the play-in after not even making it last year. And shout out New Orleans. They get to play a home game in the playoffs, so that'll be a good atmosphere in New Orleans Wednesday. I think Wednesday night or whatever that game. I know it's Wednesday. But I definitely see New Orleans winning this game. New Orleans obviously definitely has more bigger names. CJ McCollum on that team. We've seen Jackson Hayes play some good ball recently. You mentioned the health of Zion. Obviously, I don't think he's going to be playing on Wednesday, but if they do make it to Friday, we may see something we don't know. But I do see the Pelicans winning this one. Definitely going to be led by CJ McCollum, one of their leaders, pretty much the leader of that New Orleans team after the trade.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you. McCollum is arguably the best player on the court. And then they're missing Brandon Ingram and Devontae Graham in their last regular season game. I assume that was mostly just because of, they didn't need to win that game. So I assume that was rest. They're listed with injuries, but I assume that they should be healthy. So I think, with Ingram in the column, they have yeah.
All right, I can confirm because the Warriors were playing the Pelicans yesterday. They were just resting. So I think Ingram and Graham will definitely be in Wednesday's game against the Spurs.
Yeah, so, with Ingram in the column, they have the two best players on the court. And then another solid shooter in Devontae Graham. Valanciunas should be back as well for a big man. So, yeah, I agree with you. So then we'll stay in the West. Then we both have Minnesota hosting the Pelicans. Yeah, Minnesota hosting the Pelicans for the number 8 seed to face the Suns. So who do you got in that game?
I do have Minnesota. I think Minnesota's young core will be too much for this Pelicans team that's still, trying to figure out what direction they're trying to go into. Obviously, they're in more contending direction, but I think Minnesota will be too powerful for them. I think Karl-Anthony Towns will just be able to go inside, just have a field day in the post. They still got Anthony Edwards who can drop, reasonable amount of points, about 30 points sometimes. And D'Lo is a good veteran. We mentioned it. He drops 20 to 25 sometimes. So I think the Timberwolves will win this game after losing to the Clippers, and will be playing the Phoenix Suns in the first round.
Yeah, I'm with you again. I think I like how Towns matches up, Valanciunas. I think McCollum might be the biggest difference maker for, the Pelicans. I think if he has a huge, game 35, 40 points, then, this could be a really close game. But, yeah, I think that just kind of the youth and, mixed with some experience, the guys like Patrick Beverley on Minnesota, and then mixed with the home court advantage will be the difference, and we'll get a Suns Timberwolves first round 1-8 matchups, and then we both have the Clippers as a 7 seed going to Memphis, and then Minnesota as the 8 seed going to Phoenix. And then so now we'll go over to the East again. We both have Brooklyn as a 7 going to Boston, and so then we have the Hawks hosting the Hornets in the 9-10. The Hawks, had the run to the Eastern Conference Finals last year. They're kind of disappointing most of this year, but despite the slow start, they still found a way to sneak in into what was kind of a really bad back half of the East. After the play-in, the rest of the East is awful this year. But credit to the Hawks and the Hornets, a really exciting young team with LaMelo Ball, Miles Bridges, Terry Rozier, all those guys. Who do you got in this Hawks-Hornets game?
Yeah, I like the young group in Charlotte, those young lads. Definitely like what they're doing out there. But Trae Young is that dude. And I think that in the battle of offenses, high potent offenses, I think Trae Young lights it up at home. This is a home game for Trae. He has definitely, the home field court advantage. I think Charlotte is one more piece away from being out of the play-in. And I think Charlotte will get that in the offseason. But I think this is Atlanta's time to move on. It's gonna be a fun game to watch. Definitely, two very offensive teams. It's gonna be a high scoring game. But I have the home team, the Atlanta Hawks, prevailing and moving on to play Cleveland.
Yeah, I'm with you again. I think LaMelo versus Trae would be a fun matchup to watch. Bogdanovich, Miles Bridges. A lot of fun matchups in this game. But I think the playoff experience of Trae. And I think it's basically like the exact same team for the most part as they had last year in that run. So, yeah, I'm with you with the Hawks. And then I'll just go. I have then the Hawks beating Cleveland in Cleveland and taking the number 8 seed where they'll face Miami. And do you have the Hawks over Cleveland, or do you have Cleveland prevailing at home?
This has always been a toss-up for me because I like Cleveland. I like what they're doing in Cleveland. I like Darius Garland. I like obviously they're not going to have Jared Allen tomorrow. But we'll see how he is by Friday if they do lose tomorrow. But in all, I want to pick Cleveland, but Trae Young is the villain of New York, and I think he's about to become the villain of Cleveland. I just don't see them respond. I mean, yes, Garland can shoot the ball, but Trae Young is that dude, and obviously the pieces around him are a lot more healthy. Can play basketball pretty well. I definitely see Atlanta moving on, but this has always been a toss-up. I may say Cleveland tomorrow, who knows? But right now, I just because obviously Jared Allen is not healthy, I would definitely give it to Atlanta, and they will be playing Miami in the first round.
Yeah, so that'll do for the play-in talk. On Wednesday's episode, we'll kind of break down Tuesday's games, and then I guess that'll probably be before Wednesday's game. So then Friday we'll kind of break down Wednesday's games. But I just wanted to just real quick before we end up, we have two series that we're waiting to see, but then we have two series in both conferences that we know what they are. And so in the East, we have 3 Milwaukee against 6 Chicago, and then 4 Philly against 5 Toronto. We've been talking about it all along that pretty much every series in the East is going to be fun. We'll start off, I guess, with the Bucks Bulls real quick. What's your kind of just quick thoughts on this series?
Bucks are the most disrespected defending champions I've ever seen right now. No one's giving them any credit right now. We've seen what Giannis can do. We've seen what Chris Middleton can do. And yes, they played out of the 2 seed when they played Cleveland. They almost came back and beat Cleveland, but they played themselves out of the 2 seed because they didn't want to play, of course, because they didn't want to play Brooklyn or whatever the stupid reason is. But we've seen what this Milwaukee team can do. We have seen it all season. They are being very disrespected. But don't forget, the Bulls also have DeMar DeRozan. Obviously, the loss of Lonzo is going to be huge. We'll see how Levine does. They're obviously getting back Caruso. If I had to pick right now, I definitely say the Bucks in 6. The Bucks just, they play basketball so well in the postseason as well. Giannis will definitely always be taking his game from one level to the next. And I have the Bucks winning in 6 and moving on.
Yeah, I mean, we'll do, specific predictions once we know the plan and all that, once we know the top 8 seeds. But yeah, I'm definitely with you on Milwaukee taking it, and around 6 sounds about right. I think, Chicago will definitely make it competitive and take 1 or 2. But yeah, Milwaukee bringing back the same team for the most part as last year's defending champion team. Definitely not. A lot of people are talking about them when I hear people talk about East, playoff contenders and finals contenders. And then we got the Sixers Raptors. Interesting dilemma for Philly with Matisse Thybulle only getting 1 of the C shots. And so he won't be able to play in Toronto. I think I want to say it was as of like January that they made that rule, because I think Thybulle played in Toronto, if I'm not mistaken, like December or something like that. So it's a fairly new mandate that they put in place, and I assume it's all in Canada, not just Toronto, but at least Toronto. I mean, Thybulle, he's definitely. I mean, he's not gonna like make or break the series, I don't think. But definitely a key defensive, contributor for the 76ers. Toronto's been playing really, really well as of late. They've won 8 of 10 heading into the playoffs. Kind of their core of Siakam, Trent, Van Fleet, and then the emergence of Scotty Barnes his rookie year has been really good. So this should be a fun series. Did you have any other thoughts on this series?
Yeah, you mentioned one of the key things about the series, Matisse Thybulle's vaccination status. We finally see it. This is the first time we're probably going to see someone's vaccination status really affect a playoff series. But obviously, you mentioned Matisse Thybulle's not like a James Harden or Joel Embiid, where this will literally change the series. But obviously, a big defensive role player for the Sixers is not playing 3 out of potential 7 games. But obviously, if they goes to 7, obviously 4 home games for him, that'll be huge. But yeah, I definitely like Philly. Philly is one of those teams where I think they have to. They're either going to go all the way to the finals or lose in this first round. I don't think there's any in between for this team, and I think it's going to be proven evident. I think they will win this one, but it's going to be very close. It's going to come down to that game 7, because you mentioned that young core in Toronto, and they're one of the hottest teams right now coming into the playoffs. You mentioned winning 8 of their last 10. Siakam's playing great basketball along with Trent, Van Fleet. Barnes is pretty much arguably rookie of the year this year. Had a hot start, and just very consistent numbers out in Toronto. So this is gonna be a fun series. definitely about a bunch of storylines with Harden and Embiid. Can they, finally, get past their postseason issues that they've had for so long with their respective teams? I think this series is gonna go to 7, and I could see either team winning. Right now, I have the Sixers just because I think this is the time the Sixers are actually gonna make a deep run.
Maybe a repeat of Kawhi when he was at Toronto, the buzzer beater in Game 7 against. That's right. Yeah, that was Game 7, right? And when
That
that
was
was
Game
like
7.
yeah. Yeah, so it should be another fun series between those two teams, and then we'll go over to the West. We'll start with your Golden State Warriors, the number 3 seed, hosting Denver, who's the number 6 seed. Klay Thompson's entering in hot, coming off a 41-point game to end the regular season against, the Pelicans backups, but still good to see him shooting well nonetheless. And you have Denver, who's kind of fought all year without Jamal Murray, another arguably MVP season of Jokic. But what's your thoughts as a Warriors fan, and I guess just in general about the series?
Yeah, as a Warriors fan, this is going to come down to if Steph is going to be playing or not. A lot of people are saying that he's probably going to be playing. And if he is healthy and is playing this week, or whenever the series starts, I believe Sunday, against the Nuggets, then it'll be. I think the Warriors will potentially win in less fewer games. Here's the thing, though: if Steph is not healthy or something goes wrong, Nikola Jokic is having an MVP season once again. We've seen what he can do. He is pretty much the sole contributor, and the only reason that this Denver Nuggets team is in the playoffs right now, averaging 27 points a game. They don't have Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. for the whole series, which is definitely a big loss for this Denver Nuggets team.
I mean, they haven't had him for most of the year, so it's not going to make a huge difference, to them. But
yeah, but still, like those are two big losses. Obviously, they still have Aaron Gordon. They still have Aaron Gordon. With his dreads and everything. They still have contributors with Will Barton, JaMychal, and Jeff Green. But if the Warriors aren't fully healthy, this series could go to 7. But if Steph Curry is healthy, I think this will be stopped at maybe 5 or 6. Just depending on how the Warriors will be able to stop Jokic. If they can get him in foul trouble early for most games, I think that's going to be one of the key reasons that they win this series. Just getting Jokic in foul trouble, making him sit on the bench. Because without Jokic we've seen the stats. With Jokic on the floor, Denver is very efficient. Without him on the floor, Denver doesn't know how to play basketball. Denver literally does not know how to play basketball without Nikola Jokic. So that's going to be one of the biggest differences in this series, seeing how the Warriors are able to handle or try to handle Nikola Jokic.
Yeah, that could be a super ugly matchup for the Warriors and Kevin Looney against Jokic. But I was kind of assuming that Curry's going to be fully healthy by Game 1. But if he isn't, then that could definitely change the series by quite a bit. But we'll keep an eye on that and his status. I mean, he still has another week basically until Game 1. So then we'll get into the final first round series that's already set. Dallas, Utah. I already know I'm taking Dallas very easily. I think it wouldn't shock me if they sweep them. Utah might take 1, but Utah is coming in with no momentum. They've blown like multiple 20-plus point leads just in the last couple of weeks. I think Luka Magic will take over in the series. Do you have any other thoughts on the series?
And it's just the battle of two opposites. You have a team that's really good right now. Obviously, one of the bigger questions is Luka's health. He'll probably be able to make it for the first game or for this series. And you have Utah, who has blown leads, locker room problems. Donovan Mitchell may leave after this season. Who knows? So I definitely see the Mavericks either washing the Jazz or taking it to 7. But I definitely see the Mavericks moving on to the second round. I don't see Utah making it out of the first round. They could if they get their act together.
Yeah, I mean, with Mitchell and Gobert, they have the talent on the court, but I think the chemistry and all that of Dallas will definitely be the difference maker in the series. So I think that will do it for this episode on Wednesday.
I do have one more thing. Obviously, Saturday morning was hard. We lost a quarterback in the NFL, Dwayne Haskins Jr. He was only 24 years old. It was a very big story this coming out of this weekend. He was in a car crash where he was the one hit in South Florida. He was training with his teammates. other running backs, wide receivers, that offense, since he was a member of the Pittsburgh Steelers before he passed away. He was turning 25 May 3rd. Just want to give a quick condolences to him, his family, obviously anyone who knew him personally, anyone close to him at Ohio State, at Washington, and at Pittsburgh. This was a sad story to read Saturday morning. Obviously, very controversial in the way it was handled. That's another topic for another time. But just want to quick condolences to the Dwayne Haskins family and just anyone who knew him personally. Very sad story coming out of the NFL Saturday morning. Ari, any thoughts?
Definitely super, super tragic. You could kind of tell, with the way his teammates reacted. I mean, Chase Claypool had just seen him, I think, hours before. And then I think his Instagram story the night before with Najee Harris. So, yeah, I think he was training with them in South Florida. And, yeah, just super, super tragic. I remember watching him when I went to the Rose Bowl in 2019, I think, or 2018 when UW played Ohio State and Haskins was the quarterback for Ohio State that year. And, yeah, like you said, a lot of controversy with how some certain people were portraying the news on Twitter, but we can't control what other people do in that kind of sense. But yeah, super, super sad. So condolences to all of his teammates, to all the people that knew him, his family, and yeah, just anyone that knew him. So we will see you all. Frazier's grinded out. We will see you. Yeah, they just started.
Yeah,
So we'll catch you all on Wednesday. We'll recap the Tuesday playing games and then maybe preview the Wednesday playing games, assuming that we record before those start. And then just any other news, in the sports world that comes up between now and then. So thank you all for tuning in today, and we will see you all on the next episode.